Recently, everything surrounding Manchester United feels a little bit doom and gloom. Off the pitch is a complete confusion, we don't really know what's going on there, we have no money to spend as a football club, we're not playing very well on the pitch, and some of the players that we do enjoy watching aren't in the team because they are injured, and of course the league table doesn't exactly help. It's all a little bit sad, a little bit downbeat. However, I have seen some reasons that we should be positive. I've mentioned a few times recently that there are certain tactical ideas that I do like at the moment. And that is what we're going to focus on today, just to be a bit cheerier for once. If you could please subscribe to the channel before we get into the video, that would be great. And then let's get started. Now, those of you that have been watching recent videos will probably know where I'm going to start when talking about the positives with United. It's not in the first phase because I still have concerns there. However, I have said several times recently that when United can get further forward, can move the ball a little bit higher up the pitch, I actually like some of the things that we are doing, and I actually like the shape as well, the formation that we use, and the positions it allows us to get certain players into, to create overloads and actually hurt the opposition. Of course, the area I am going to be talking about is out wide, because this is where I would argue tactically we are most different to other teams. I like some of the associative combination play that we are seeing out wide for Manchester United. The profiles still aren't perfect, but the second we see someone like Patrick Dorgu come into the team, who does tick more of the boxes in terms of profile, United look a lot better. We know that in this shape, we get a sort of diamond down each side of the pitch, so the wide centre-back, the central midfielder, the wing-back and the inside forward. A lot of the time, the opposition aren't going to want to use their centre-back in these moments, so a lot of the time we are 4 versus 3 in these situations. Now, when you are in these moments and you've got a tactical overload, so for example you're 4 versus 3, you don't need to rely on individual brilliance quite as much. You don't need players that can dribble and always beat players 1v1 or carry the ball 30 yards because you can move the ball forward with combination play. And we've seen United starting to do this in recent weeks, particularly with Bruno Fernandes and Dorgu. And we even saw this at the weekend against Everton, a game in which of course Manchester United were quite poor for large parts, but even when we were poor there were certain principles which were clear and certain principles that I quite like. So you can see the 4 wider players here, you've got the centre-back, the central midfielder, the wing-back and the inside forward all close to each other, and it allows you to do things like this because Everton only have 3 players. There's going to be space somewhere to attack, and the likes of Bruno Fernandes and Dorgu are excellent at this combination play. I think a lot of people look at Dorgu as this big powerful athlete who wants to drive past people constantly, and I think he can be that. But when we first signed him, something that I was also talking about a lot was his combination play, his link play, and his ability to go into empty spaces. This is something that we saw in this game against Everton with Bruno Fernandes and Dorgu combining down the left-hand side, playing these 1-2s, moving around the opposition and into space, and then once in the final third, having the left footer on the left, gives us that ability to get the ball into the box. Now, of course, the final ball at the weekend was poor, but if we're focusing on the positives, this is good progressive play out wide from United. And again, it comes when we aren't trying to beat players, you know, we're not going 1v1, we're moving the ball around the opposition. You can see it again here, we've literally got the wide diamond shape. Dorgu and Bruno Fernandes combine, so Dorgu passes the ball inside and then makes the run off the ball, and Bruno Fernandes, again, is a very good passer of the football. He's able to find him again. He is able to find the run of Dorgu, and once again, we can get into the final third and get across into the box. For me, this is good progressive play for Manchester United. What we need to try and do as we move forward, in terms of if we're talking about the potential and the ceiling of the Ruben Amorim system, is we need to try and recreate something similar down the right hand side. Tactically, we have the same shape, we have the 4 players. Individually, the profiles are a little bit different, but at least on the left hand side, we can see what it could look like someday. That's good. Something else that I have liked under Ruben Amorim is when we start to be a bit more expressive with the wider centre-backs. Now granted, this tends to happen depending on the game state, you know, when we're chasing results a little bit more. Perhaps we're 1 or 2 goals down, or it's level and we're desperate for a win. That's when we tend to see this a little bit more. I would like to encourage Amorim to try and be braver and do it earlier in matches, because when we do it, it does work. The centre-backs, particularly the wider 2 stepping forward, gives United a really effective way of keeping the ball rather than forcing it forward. So what we've almost been known for in recent years is getting the ball into this sort of situation here, and far too early we are trying to be direct into the box, even if there aren't really the options in there, and as a result we lose the ball, overturn possession, and teams counter-attack against us, and we're not very good at defending counter-attacks. What we've seen recently is the positioning of the wider centre-backs helping us to keep the ball, particularly with someone like Mazraoui, who is a fullback. He's comfortable moving into these positions. What he gives us is that sort of safe way to go backwards and keep the ball. So we might be in the middle of the pitch, let's say with Casemiro for example, and eventually we work the ball wide to Dalot. He looks up, gets his head up, and doesn't really have any forward options. Now, in the past, this is where United have made some really poor decisions and still tried to move the ball forward, and we just lose the ball. However, this wide centre-back coming forward gives us that ability to go backwards and actually keep the ball and then move across to the other side of the pitch. Now, when you consider in these game states the opposition are going to be deeper, the wide centre-back on the other side then also gives us that next passing option, by which point this guy's dropped deeper, but it gives us that next passing option to now try again down this side. If it doesn't work down here, we can move the ball backwards, move across, and again cycle the ball like that. It gives United a really effective way of retaining possession. Again, you can see this against Everton here. Mazraoui, the right centre-back, situated a little bit higher up the pitch on the right-hand side, and he has that option to keep the ball and then move inside. So we could see here, United were trying to probe down the right, it didn't work. So we move the ball inside to Casemiro. Casemiro carries the ball towards the left-hand side, and then De Ligt steps forward into the space. Now we're going to have a go down this side of the pitch. Can we now explore this side? Can we find a way forward down the left? If not, De Ligt is there. The wide centre-back is there, and he's got all the time in the world. So again, we can come backwards, use him as that point to then restart the attack going back the other way. Again, we can see in this moment here, in the second half, now United are chasing the goal. And we can see the staggered nature of the three. So you've got Harry Maguire in the middle, much deeper than the other two, and it gives the other two that license to go forward, to move into the final third. Euro carries the ball forward, doesn't really have the forward pass that he fancies, although he eventually finds Xerxes. Xerxes looks up, doesn't see a progressive passing option, so instead he has De Ligt to his left-hand side, stepping into the space. It gives United always that free ball, that extra pass that you can play. Now here, eventually it gets overcrowded, right? Everton move lots of players to this side, so United can't progress, can't create. However, because we've still got De Ligt there, and because we've got Lenny Yoro, we can just move the ball to the other side and now have a go down this side of the pitch. Now, unfortunately, at the moment, particularly without Lisandro Martinez, we don't necessarily have the greatest profiles actually in these moments, particularly Yoro and De Ligt. They're not elite players on the ball, so they're not necessarily being too progressive once they get into those positions. But again, if we're looking forward, the ceiling of this under Ruben Amorim, perhaps when we have a different centre-back profile, or we have Lisandro Martinez, you know, we saw the effect of that just 1 month ago. Again, there's an idea here of what we could be in the future, and I think that's what we need to look for. Now, the other thing that we need to talk about here is why the centre-backs are actually able to get so much room. Surely the opposition aren't just letting us have free men, letting us have free space. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Well, the reason our centre-backs are getting time on the ball in these moments is because of something else that we are doing quite good from a tactical point of view. In recent weeks, we have seen United being slightly less rigid as we move forward. Only slightly less, there's still work to do here. But rather than always having two central midfielders sitting in front of the back three, we are starting to see more license where we're going to play with one pivot and the other midfielder is going to move a little bit further forward. The weekend that was Ugarte, we've seen it be Bruno Fernandes when he starts deeper and progresses. It gives United the ability to throw more players forward. Now what happens when you do that is it starts to pin the opposition defence because they're worried. So let's say you push Dorgu, Bruno, Højlund, Xerxes, Dalot, and also you get Ugarte floating in the space as well. Everton naturally are going to drop deep. They're going to drop off a little bit and try and cover the space. Again, particularly when game state suits us. Again, I would encourage Ruben Amorim to try and do this earlier in matches. We need to work on that. But you can see now, because we've pushed so many players forward and pinned the opposition back, this is why these guys then get more room. So the centre-backs are getting more room, which is making us better going forward, better at keeping the ball. But the reason they're able to get that room is because we're pushing more players further forward in the first place. But the good thing also here is that we don't get stuck. You see, these players may push high initially, but because of the variation of profiles there, they are still able to drop deeper. Someone like Xerxes, for example, Ugarte and Bruno are always going to try and come towards the ball. So they may start high, but then they're going to drop off into space. So again, what that does is it creates space initially for these deeper guys, but they also get a passing option because one of the forwards eventually drops a little bit deeper for them. Then again, we start to see those wide diamonds that we were talking about earlier starting to take effect in the final third. Now, against Everton, let's be completely honest, we weren't great in the final third with our creativity, but again, we can see the idea. Mazraoui here, a lot of time. No one anywhere near him. He is in a lot of space. And the reason he is in a lot of space is because the Everton defence is pinned back really deep. Now, yes, Everton are 2-0 up. Again, keep that in mind. But still, Everton are so deep because Manchester United are pushing players forward. And it means that someone like Mazraoui can be the spare man, but also that we can create these diamond shapes, not just deep around the halfway line, but now actually in the final third. And when we do that, we're going to have the free player somewhere. On this occasion, it is Mazraoui. I believe eventually we move the ball inside to Ugarte, and then move the ball across to the other side to De Ligt, back to the centre-back stepping forward, and then eventually Dorgu gets into a crossing position down the left. So because we are pinning the opposition, we're able to move laterally across the pitch before then being more aggressive, before then finding the space out wide. You can see it again here, Manchester United with players high up the pitch, on the last line, pinning that Everton defence back. And it means that when Bruno Fernandes receives the ball deeper, he's got time. Bruno Fernandes, with time, one of the best football players on the planet. I mean, he's probably one of the best anyway. But regardless, he's able to get his head up and suddenly he's got runners off the ball. You can see Dalot making the run in behind. On this occasion, it actually goes to Ugarte instead. But again, now Manchester United are in a crossing position. And the reason we are able to do this is because we've got players in the final third. The problem is, this doesn't happen quite regularly enough. When we do it, I actually think we're quite good. When we get into these positions, we sort of take the handbrake off and let players express themselves a little bit more. I think United look really good. We overwhelm the last line defensively, I feel, but also have enough options on the ball in deeper positions. This is good. Ruben Amorim needs to do it earlier on in matches. It can't happen at 2-0 down every week. We've got to try and take the game to the opponents more. I think that's something that we need to do moving forward. But what we are seeing here is if United can take the steps to solve the deeper possession issues, which are certainly there, I have big problems with the build-up structure, but if we can improve there, for me, I do feel that we are already at a point where, certainly in the final third, I think we look quite good. People will think that's a strange thing to say because of the lack of goals and the big chances created. We just need to get there, though, more regularly. When we're there, I think the ideas are good. We just have to try and find a way now, and that's the next step really for Ruben Amorim. Be more expressive, be more aggressive with the approach from the start, but also solve some of these deeper problems. If we solve some of these deeper problems on the ball, we will quickly see a Manchester United side, in my opinion, that can attack much better, and that has to be music to the ears of Manchester United fans. Of course, it's still not perfect, not by any means, but in my opinion, there has been a little bit of progress there. We are seeing Amorim's ideas and principles coming into play. We just need to try and build into those positions more regularly, and hopefully good will come from that. But of course, all of this is just my opinions, my thoughts, sort of my assessment from what I've seen in recent weeks. I now want to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you make of Manchester United in these phases, and how can we make sure that we get there more regularly? What are the changes that we need to make in deeper parts of the pitch? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. But apart from that, we are finished for today. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.